Well, I must admit I had a fine time looking at the issue of presidential campaign endorsements, because you've had this whole string of people who were running for president, who've dropped out, who are now endorsing their rivals, who've said terrible things about them, or they have said terrible things about the people they're now endorsing. I mean, it was just a matter of gathering up the videotape. We did this on Media Buzz. I did it for a special report. And yes, there's always some... When politicians mend fences, they often have to overlook some of the slights of the past. That's part of the game. We get that. But it just seems like in this particular crazy campaign year, it has been so egregious that suddenly they've gone, as I have put it, from hate to hugs. So got an email here from Annetta F. out in Eugene, Oregon, and Annetta writes, "Watching your program this morning, I was struck with a thought that if Donald Trump had made the comments about Ted Cruz that Lindsey Graham did, it would have been headline news. Murder and mayhem comments from Trump are published and broadcast with alacrity. I think even Ted Cruz used the word revolt about the convention, not respecting a candidate that leads, but doesn't quite make the bar for headlines either. It was reported, but without the heat." Well, let's stipulate that everything Trump says gets, 50 times more coverage than if somebody else said the same thing. But in the case of Lindsey Graham, who has now endorsed Ted Cruz, it wasn't very hard to find what he had said about Ted Cruz in the past, hence the words murder and mayhem. And this was a kind of a joke, but it was a serious one, where Lindsey Graham said, if Ted Cruz were murdered on the Senate floor and there was a trial in the Senate, nobody would be convicted, trying to make the point that none of his Senate colleagues like the Texan very much. And then he kind of lumped together both Ted Cruz and Donald Trump when Senator Graham said the following: if you're a GOP voter and you have to choose between Trump and Cruz, it's like the choice between being shot and being poisoned. You're still dead. Now, Graham has made clear that Cruz wasn't his first choice, but that he so reviles Donald Trump that he sees Senator Cruz as the only viable way of stopping a Trump nomination. I did the same thing with Ben Carson, who had been called pathological based on his book about his life story by Donald Trump, now endorsing Donald Trump, now saying even if Donald Trump is a bad president, well, it'll only last 4 years. Chris Christie looking awkward after having said some harsh things about Donald Trump. Look, it's the way the game is played, but it's just never been more readily apparent that when politicians think they might get something out of coming together behind another candidate, despite the lies, the accusations of lies and worse, maybe there'll be a job in the administration. Maybe they get to be the running mate. Maybe the campaigner who wins will help the loser pay off his campaign debt. That's a common deal. Sometimes these deals are explicit. Sometimes they are unspoken. But just wanted to throw a little spotlight on the fact that, boy, these people in the political game, they can forget a lot about what somebody said about them or what they said about somebody when they want something in return.